Hello, hello. Today we are walking through fatty liver. We're going to talk about what it is, what causes it, and how to start healing it with simple, real food shifts. So, in today's episode, this is really a deep dive into the exact approach we use in our practice. We also have a 7-day free fatty liver meal plan to get you started so you can start making changes right away. So, today we're really going to unpack this topic because if you've recently been told that you have fatty liver, or it can be called NAFLD, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, you're probably wondering, what does that even mean and whether it's something to worry about? You might have heard terms like alcoholic fatty liver or non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which that NAFLD, it's actually now called MASLD, which stands for metabolic dysfunction associated steatotic liver disease. So it's actually a new name, and this new name fits it much better because this is really a metabolic disease. But the diagnosis can make you feel confused, scared, and really unsure what to do next. So you're not alone. This diagnosis has actually become incredibly common. And the good news is that in most cases, it's completely reversible through the right eating plan and lifestyle changes. Now, fatty liver is not a random problem. It's a sign that your metabolism liver and liver are asking for support. The liver is your body's main processing center. It manages everything from blood sugar balance to detoxification. And when it becomes overloaded, often from too much sugar, refined carbohydrates, inflammation, fat starts to build up in the liver cells. So think of it as kind of like an Amazon packaging center. This center is supposed to sort packages, move things through, metabolize nutrients, and then basically get rid of waste as well. So if it's overloaded with packages, the operation slows down and becomes less efficient. And this is what happens when we become insulin resistant. The body stores the extra fat in the liver and it becomes congested and it's not able to filter things as well. So, we want to eat good foods for our liver. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more in a second here. So, we're going to walk through today what fatty liver actually is, what causes it, and how to reverse it naturally with diet and lifestyle changes. And we have in the show notes for you a free 7-day fatty liver meal plan that you can download that has recipes, an exact 7-day meal plan, foods that are better for your liver, foods that may not be so good for your liver, and it's designed by our group of GI specialized dietitians at Nutrition Resolution. So, our goal with fatty liver from a dietary perspective is to move toward a Mediterranean eating style. And because the Mediterranean diet is the most studied and effective pattern for reversing fatty liver and improving insulin sensitivity. Now, here's the catch in the gut health world. If you're also dealing with IBS, SIBO, or general gut reactivity, maybe symptoms like bloating, loose stools or diarrhea, maybe gas, abdominal discomfort or pain, this can actually make it more difficult to eat the very foods that are going to be good for your liver, right? Because the Mediterranean diet is a lot of high fiber foods. It includes whole grains, vegetables, legumes, which can be the hardest foods to digest when you're dealing with these gut issues. So that's why our approach really focuses on calming and rebalancing the gut first, so you can gradually expand variety and fully benefit from the liver friendly whole grains, high fiber produce, lean proteins, and healthy fats that really support liver health. So, what is fatty liver? When someone's told they have fatty liver disease, this is the first question I usually get. What does that mean? So, simply put, it means there's too much fat being stored inside the liver cells. So, Just like the Amazon fulfillment center analogy, or packing maybe too many groceries in a fridge that's already full, over time it overflows, makes it harder for the liver to do its job, which is processing nutrients, filtering toxins, and balancing your metabolism. Most cases of fatty liver are not caused by alcohol, and that's why they used to call it non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or NAFLD. So they're now calling it metabolic dysfunction associated steatotic liver disease, or MASLD. It's a mouthful because it's linked to everyday metabolic factors like insulin resistance, excess sugar and refined carbs, and chronic low-grade inflammation. When blood sugar stays high for too long, the body converts some of that excess sugar into fat, and the liver is one of the first places that fat accumulates. While most fatty liver cases are metabolic, alcoholic fatty liver, which is caused by excess alcohol intake, can look similar under a microscope. Regardless of the type of liver disease, following a balanced, healthy liver supportive diet that includes liver friendly foods can help reduce fat buildup, calm inflammation, and support liver repair. So, fatty liver, it often shows up alongside other signs of metabolic imbalance like high blood sugar. It doesn't have to be all these things, but these are the things that show up here and there alongside fatty liver. So it can be things like high blood sugar, elevated triglycerides, or carrying extra weight around the midsection. It's not technically part of the official metabolic syndrome checklist. Fatty liver is not, but it shares the same root cause, insulin resistance. And that's why improving blood sugar balance and inflammation through the way that you eat can make such a difference for both liver health and overall metabolism. And here's something most people don't realize. And fatty liver isn't rare at all. It's actually a spectrum that can range from very mild to more advanced stages. Studies suggest that more than 2/3 of people with overweight or obesity have at least some fat accumulation in their liver, even if they feel completely fine. So the good news is that even a small amount of weight loss, as little as 5 to 10%, can dramatically reduce liver fat and inflammation. So again, think of your liver like your body's filter. So when too much fat builds up, it's like trying to run water through a clogged Brita. It still works, but not efficiently. And that traffic jam can cause ripple effects throughout the body. Blood sugar becomes hard to regulate, cholesterol and triglycerides rise, and inflammation increases. Over time, this raises the risk for diabetes, heart disease, and more advanced liver damage if nothing changes. The liver's connection to the gut is a big part of this picture. The gut liver axis means that what happens in the digestive tract affects the liver directly. So, when the gut microbiome is imbalanced, so for example, so let's say you have dysbiosis, you have an imbalance of gut bacteria in your colon, in your large intestine, or let's say you have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So your microbiome is imbalanced, the intestinal lining then becomes more permeable, and inflammatory byproducts that are supposed to be eliminated in the waste or that are being produced by gut microbes, they flow through the intestinal wall, get into the bloodstream, and circulate straight to the liver. And this amplifies fat storage and inflammation. So, supporting gut health with whole grains, fiber rich foods, and fresh fruits and vegetables can help restore balance and protect the liver. And here's the good news, and it's really good news. The liver is one of the most resilient organs in the body. It can heal and regenerate when given the right conditions. And that's where foods that are liver supportive become very powerful. The foods you eat can literally turn this process around, reducing the fat in the liver, calming inflammation, and restoring your body's ability to metabolize efficiently again. I remember we had one client, she came to me completely panicked after her doctor told her she had fatty liver and that her liver enzymes were high. She didn't drink alcohol and she just couldn't wrap her head around how did her liver become fatty. Her doctor told her to lose weight, but she didn't know what to eat or how to actually do that in a way that would help her liver heal. We started simple. We started by balancing her blood sugar. That was the first thing we did because insulin resistance is a big part of fatty liver. So we added more protein to her meals. We cut back on refined carbs and sugary foods. And we focused on liver friendly foods like baked sweet potatoes, plain Greek yogurt, nut butter paired with whole grain toast, for example, for balanced breakfasts. Over about 3 months, she lost just under 10 pounds. So it wasn't anything groundbreaking from a weight loss perspective, but her energy came back. Her digestion improved, and her follow up labs showed that her liver enzymes had dropped back into the normal range. And so the liver enzymes are the AST and ALT blood work that your doctor can order. We had a question yesterday in our fatty liver webinar about this. Those are not generally part of standard blood work, but your doctor can easily order them for you if you're concerned, if you want to screen and see if you might have fatty liver going on. So that's the AST and the ALT. Those are your liver enzymes. They can be elevated for reasons other than fatty liver. So you also want to look at the whole metabolic picture to fill in the blanks and really see, do you also have high triglycerides? Do you also have elevated fasting blood sugar or A1C? Or do you also have extra weight around your abdomen? Those are some things that when you pair it with the elevated liver enzymes, tell us that you have fatty liver going on. It can also be evaluated through a scan. So they can do a scan and see if your liver is enlarged. So in this case with this patient, she just loved seeing those numbers improve and fairly quickly, right? Just a few months. And she said the best part was finally feeling in control of her health again instead of feeling scared and intimidated and confused about this diagnosis. So we're not done yet, but I just want to pause here and say that if you are like excited to get started and you're curious about what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a Mediterranean style diet or a fatty liver diet, go ahead and download our free meal plan. It has a food list, foods to avoid for fatty liver, foods to eat that are liver supportive, as well as that 7-day meal plan, as well as a grocery list to support the meal plan. And there's over 20 liver supportive recipes in that guide, and it's free. So definitely download that. Now, is fatty liver dangerous and is it reversible? So when people first hear that they have fatty liver disease, that fear kicks in fast. I've had so many clients say, I thought that meant my liver was damaged or failing. But the truth is, in most cases, fatty liver is completely reversible, especially when it's caught early. The liver is remarkably resilient. It can actually regenerate and repair itself when given the right conditions and the right diet and lifestyle changes. And fatty liver, remember, it exists on a spectrum. On one end is kind of simple, mild fatty liver where fat has built up in the liver cells, but there's little to no inflammation or scarring. On the more advanced end, on the whole other end of the spectrum, that's non-alcoholic steatohepatitis or NASH, and that's now called metabolic dysfunction associated steatohepatitis, which is MASH. So they've changed the name of NASH as well. And this involves inflammation and damage to the liver tissue. So the earlier you catch it, the easier it is to reverse with healthy foods and a really targeted eating plan. Actually, let me share with you just a few research-backed wins here because these are pretty cool. So, number one is that a Mediterranean style diet helps reduce fat in the liver and improve insulin sensitivity, even if you don't lose weight. Number two, drinking coffee, if you can tolerate it, is linked with better liver health and a lower risk of scarring. So let me repeat that because we rarely get news this good in the nutrition world, right? So drinking coffee, if you can tolerate it, is linked with better liver health and lower risk of scarring. And third, even small weight changes matter. Losing about 5% of your body weight can start improving liver fat, and around 10% can actually help reverse inflammation and scarring. Most people don't know that they have fatty liver until it shows up in the lab work. It's not something you feel with symptoms. So it's very often discovered accidentally. Maybe your doctor ran routine blood work and found that your ALT and AST were mildly elevated, or you had an ultrasound or something else that showed extra fat in your liver. It's usually not painful, which is why it can go unnoticed for years. But that early detection is actually good news because it means there's still a wide open window to turn things around naturally before there's actual damage to the liver. If left unchecked, the fat buildup can trigger inflammation that slowly damages the liver tissue over time, and that increases the risk of fibrosis, cirrhosis, or even liver cancer. But I want you guys to hear the empowering part. This process can be stopped and even reversed through a consistent, healthy eating plan that focuses on foods that are good for your liver, including whole grains, fresh vegetables, healthy fats. And the research is very clear on this, that lifestyle changes that improve insulin sensitivity and reduce inflammation can dramatically lower liver fat and normalize those liver enzymes, often within just a few months. Now, from a functional nutrition perspective, we look beyond just calories or weight loss and focus on the patterns that stress the liver. That's things like unstable blood sugar, chronic inflammation, sluggish bile flow, and poor gut health. When those systems are supported through your diet, the liver naturally clears out excess fat and inflammation begins to calm down. I've seen this play out many times, not from restriction or detoxes, but through small, consistent nutritional shifts that truly support your metabolism and help the liver recover. Small shifts allow you to be able to, over time, maintain those changes. And speaking of functional nutrition, we can't talk about healing without looking at why the problem started in the first place. So let's dig in next to the root causes of fatty liver and what really drives it, and how the way that you eat can start reversing it right away. So, what drives fatty liver? Most people are surprised to learn that fatty liver disease really it's not actually about the liver. It's a metabolic condition that just happens to show up in the liver. So the same patterns that lead to weight gain, high triglycerides, and blood sugar swings are often the ones fueling fat buildup in the liver. And that's why addressing the root causes are so important. So here are the biggest root causes that I see in practice. Number one, insulin resistance. This is the central driver for most people with NAFLD or MAFLD. When your cells stop responding efficiently to insulin, blood sugar and insulin levels stay elevated longer after meals. The liver responds by turning that extra sugar into fat. Over time, that stored body fat begins to build up inside liver cells. This process often starts silently, years before blood sugar or A1C levels flag as high. We had this question yesterday during our fatty liver webinar Q&A. Do you have to have insulin resistance to have fatty liver? Well, as we thought through it, I mean, yeah, you do have insulin resistance if you have fatty liver. Your doctor would run an insulin resistance test and see that you have it. Insulin resistance is a quiet, insidious thing that happens even before you ever see your blood sugars or A1C start to elevate. So insulin resistance is part of the issue, but it's an early thing that starts. And especially if you don't see that elevated, if you don't have elevated blood sugar yet, this is in a very early stage and it's very reversible. So supporting insulin sensitivity with a healthy diet, a liver supportive diet, can help to break this cycle of insulin resistance. We're also going to talk about exercise later, which is a big part of reducing insulin resistance. Number two, as far as the root causes, diets high in refined carbs and added sugar. So this kind of goes hand in hand with the insulin resistance. And when you have a diet high in refined carbs and added sugars, frequent spikes in blood sugar and insulin from the sweetened drinks, the pastries, the processed snacks, they accelerate fat production in the liver. One of the biggest culprits is fructose, especially from that high fructose corn syrup that are in many sodas, fructose from juice, even like sweetened coffee drinks. The liver metabolizes fructose directly into fat. So honestly, high fructose corn syrup is one of the worst foods for the liver. Replacing these types of drinks and sweetened foods with whole grain carbs and fresh fruit that has the fiber in it can be one of the most effective changes in your eating plan. And when it comes to sweetened beverages, replacing them with teas or water or carbonated water with a lemon, but getting away from those sugary drinks. Number three, the third most common root cause of fatty liver is inflammation and oxidative stress. When the body is under chronic low-grade inflammation from stress or poor diet quality, sleep deprivation, or even environmental toxins, the liver becomes more susceptible to oxidative stress. And this damages liver cells and slows down normal repair and detox processes, which allows fat and inflammation to accumulate. So, again, liver healing foods like leafy greens, berries, and omega-3 rich fish support the liver's natural defenses against inflammation and oxidative stress, and they're a core part of any fatty liver eating plan. And number four is gut health imbalances. The gut liver axis means that anything affecting the gut affects the liver too. When the gut microbiome is out of balance or the intestinal lining becomes more permeable, that's your leaky gut, inflammatory byproducts can travel straight to the liver through the portal vein. And this adds extra stress and can worsen insulin resistance. Balancing the gut with fiber-rich foods, whole grains, and fresh vegetables helps to protect the liver and promotes detoxification naturally. Now, I briefly mentioned this earlier, but it's also worth noting that gut-related dysfunction can raise liver enzymes even without fatty liver. So, for example, I have one of my current clients that I'm working with, she's actually underweight, and she struggles with chronic constipation. Her liver enzymes came back high. And she asked me, what's this about? Well, it's not because of fat buildup. She's underweight, but it's because her constipation has been so chronic that her body's not eliminating waste efficiently. So when bile and toxins, they're just sitting in the colon, they get reabsorbed into the bloodstream and they recirculate instead of moving through and out the gut. So this puts a strain on the liver because it's having to recycle. I mean, it's doing all of this detoxification only for all that waste to just be dumped back into it. So it's like cleaning out a drain and then dumping all of the stuff you filtered out right back in it. So with her, we've been focusing on restoring healthy motility, gentle bile support, and getting her on those liver-friendly foods. The first step in a case like this is really get that constipation moving, get that motility moving. And she is already starting to feel more energized and regular. The next root cause of fatty liver, and you can have multiple of these, and most people do, by the way. But the next thing that we see is actually SIBO. You guys hear me talk about SIBO a lot, and that's because it's extremely common in the gut health world, much more common than a lot of people realize. And in the context of fatty liver, SIBO actually shows up more often than you'd think. SIBO stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and it's actually quite common in metabolic liver disease. Research suggests roughly a quarter to a third of people with fatty liver also have SIBO. So I'm just going to repeat that because that's huge. A quarter to a third of people with fatty liver also have SIBO, and the risk appears higher in certain groups. So if you suspect SIBO, one of the hallmark symptoms of SIBO is bloating, and then it can come along with all manner of stool changes, the whole gamut spectrum from constipation all the way to diarrhea to alternating in between, along with the discomfort in the abdomen or abdominal pain, gas production. So if you suspect you have SIBO because you have these symptoms, any one of these symptoms or a combination of them, it is worth assessing and treating because ongoing overgrowth can keep liver inflammation and insulin resistance smoldering. That makes sense, right? Because we've talked about that microbial imbalance and how that feeds inflammation right into the bloodstream, which then inflames the liver. And also, if you have SIBO, that's one of the main reasons people will not tolerate, people with these IBS type symptoms will not tolerate high fiber foods or high FODMAP foods, the very liver healthy foods that we need. So it's a big problem, not just from an inflammatory standpoint, but SIBO is going to prevent you from being able to tolerate the Mediterranean style diet. But once we address the overgrowth, then that helps us to calm that liver inflammation and allows you to tolerate the liver-friendly foods better. And we will put a link in the show notes about SIBO if you'd like to learn more about it. We have quite a bit of information about SIBO. So the next thing is sluggish bile flow. Bile isn't just for digesting fats. That's one of its main purposes, but it's also how the liver eliminates waste, cholesterol, and old hormones. When bile flow is sluggish, the liver's natural detoxification and fat processing systems slow down and inflammation tends to rise. So, supporting bile flow, and you can do this through nutrients like choline, you can do this with digestive bitters, making sure you're hydrated, making sure we're supporting motility, working on the gut brain axis. It can make a big difference in liver efficiency. The next thing is sedentary lifestyle. A lack of physical activity means less glucose uptake by the muscles, which keeps blood sugar and insulin levels high throughout the day. Regular movement, even simple walking or resistance training, improves insulin sensitivity, enhances fat metabolism, and supports liver health. So, pairing exercise with your liver friendly diet plan accelerates that improvement, even without major weight loss. Exercise, it really helps your cells be like a sponge and soak up that sugar in the blood so they don't become insulin resistant or so that existing insulin resistance starts to improve. It opens up the cells to receive the insulin and blood sugar that would otherwise hang out in the bloodstream. The next thing is chronic stress. Cortisol, our main stress hormone, can promote fat storage around the abdomen and influence insulin resistance. High stress also tends to drive habits that indirectly worsen fatty liver, like irregular eating, poor sleep, and sugar cravings. So, the key takeaway here is that fatty liver disease is not caused by just one thing. It's a combination of metabolic, inflammatory, and lifestyle factors that layer over time. And that's why the solution is not just cutting calories or taking supplements, right? Like you can do those things, but you want to look at the full picture and it's going to be a little different for everybody. So we want to look at all these systems and bring them back into balance. Let's talk next about how nutrition does heal the liver. The most powerful medicine for fatty liver disease is not found in a pill. It's on your plate. The liver is designed to heal, but it can only do that when we stop overloading it with sugar and processed foods and start feeding it the nutrients it needs to metabolize efficiently again. The first step is stabilizing blood sugar. When your blood sugar stays steady throughout the day, insulin levels come down, which gives your liver a chance to start clearing stored fat instead of constantly making more. This is why protein at every meal, paired with fiber rich carbs and healthy fats, makes such a big difference. It's not about cutting out all carbs, it's about choosing the right ones and balancing them well. Healthy fats are another key player. The right fats, like those in salmon, walnuts, olive oil, flaxseed, and avocado, help reduce liver inflammation and improve triglyceride metabolism. In contrast, trans fats, fried foods, and excess saturated fats make the liver's job harder. A Mediterranean style pattern naturally brings these elements together. Extra virgin olive oil and nuts for your monounsaturated fatty acids, fish for omega-3s, and plenty of plants for fiber and polyphenols, a combo consistently linked with less liver fat and better insulin sensitivity. So that's the exact foundation for the fatty liver meal plan we have, which is a simple way to get started if you're looking for a sustainable diet plan for fatty liver. The next thing is fiber and phytonutrients. These are the liver's cleanup crew. Fiber and phytonutrients. So, soluble fiber binds excess cholesterol and toxins so that they leave the body. It actually binds the bile and helps drag that cholesterol and toxins out of the body. So, think about oats, chia seeds, flax seeds, lentils, beans, apples, and citrus. Meanwhile, colorful plant foods like beets, kale, berries, and cruciferous vegetables boost antioxidant defenses and glutathione, one of the liver's main detox molecules. So aim for a mix of cooked and fresh foods and build simple salads packed with color to get those antioxidants working for your liver. The more variety and color in your meals, the better your liver can do its job. And don't underestimate hydration. The liver needs enough fluid to process nutrients, move bile, and flush out waste. We talked earlier about sluggish bile flow. Well, if you're dehydrated, then the bile can actually get thicker, so it doesn't flow as easily. So, and we talked earlier about the problem with sugary drinks. So, green tea, herbal teas like dandelion or milk thistle, and mineral rich bone broths, those are actually liver supportive. They do double duty by hydrating and delivering antioxidants, phytonutrients, and electrolytes that support the liver's detox pathways. From a functional nutrition perspective, healing isn't about a quick detox or over restriction. It's about creating the right nutrient environment for repair. When blood sugar, inflammation, and gut function are supported, the liver naturally releases fat and restores balance. And that's why many people notice their energy, digestion, and even mood improving long before their labs change. And if your gut is reactive, we phase into the Mediterranean pattern gradually. And if we need to, we address why it's reactive and deal with that first. So you might start out with a low FODMAP eating plan that's like a Mediterranean style low FODMAP hybrid where you're following the Mediterranean style olive oil, vegetables, whole grains, but you're making high FODMAP choices of those foods and using gentler textures, maybe cooked foods instead of raw. And then you're able to gradually widen that variety over time as symptoms settle, as you're working on your root cause of your gut symptoms, and so that you can move gradually into that full Mediterranean style eating plan. So at Nutrition Resolution, this is the foundation we use with our clients who have gut issues, but they also have fatty liver. We build meals that balance. Even within a low FODMAP diet, for example, we build meals that balance blood sugar, calm inflammation, and support detox pathways. And then once those basics are in place, we're able to heal and rebalance the gut and gradually expand the diet back out. All right, let's talk about more than just diet because there are other lifestyle strategies that really boost results here. Food is the foundation for healing fatty liver, but it's not everything. It's not the whole picture. The liver thrives when the entire body's rhythm supports it. Movement, rest, and stress balance all influence how efficiently the liver can clear fat, regulate blood sugar, and detoxify. So, gentle movement and strength training is really helpful here. And you don't need high intensity workouts to make progress. In fact, research shows that even brisk walking or light resistance training can lower liver fat and improve insulin sensitivity. Aim for movement most days of the week. Walk after meals or do yoga or body weight exercises. These are great options because what you want to do is use up that blood sugar so that it doesn't hang out in the blood. And that helps the cells be more insulin sensitive. Strength training is especially helpful because it builds muscle. And so that's especially beneficial for improving blood sugar balance and supporting metabolism long term. And exercise improved liver fat independent of weight loss. So the goal here, you don't hear me talking a lot about weight loss, do you? And like I said earlier, 5 to 10%, only with 5 to 10% of your body weight loss. So if you are 200 pounds, that's 10 to 20 pounds of weight loss is associated with big benefits here. So even independent of weight loss, these diet changes and exercise and some of these other lifestyle changes can really help with the fatty liver. So the next thing, hydration, we talked about this. And then the next thing is restorative sleep. Sleep is when your liver performs most of its work. When you're sleeping, that's when your liver is doing its cleanup. So, inconsistent or poor quality sleep raises cortisol and insulin levels, both of which make it harder for the liver to release stored fat. So you really want to aim for 7 to 9 hours of consistent high quality sleep and have a regular sleep wake schedule, reduce screen time before bed. These things can really make a difference. They sound simple, but these foundational things are really important. And we cannot stress enough stress management because chronic stress changes gut motility. It alters the microbiome and it raises cortisol, all of which feed into insulin resistance and inflammation. So, techniques like deep, slow breathing, gentle stretching, journaling, short mindfulness practices. There are so many kinds, but incorporating something daily to help with your stress management can really help regulate that gut, liver, brain axis and keep your digestion and metabolic systems working together. Let's talk a little bit about functional supports because you know that in our practice, we love talking about functional nutrition. And it's interesting because fatty liver is one of those things where there's really not, we don't recommend a lot of medications or even a lot of supplements because the foundational things we're talking about are really what's going to move the needle. But let's talk about some functional supports that might be helpful alongside the foundational things. So there are some nutrients and herbs that can offer extra support. We just want to emphasize that they're most effective after the basics are in place. So milk thistle, which the active ingredient in milk thistle is silymarin, it has antioxidant effects that may protect liver cells. And acetylcysteine, which is referred to as NAC, supports glutathione production. And dandelion tea or bitters can gently stimulate bile flow. So these should always be a complement, not replace foundational nutrition and lifestyle changes. But if you are already following a healthy liver diet, incorporating these gentle supports can make a difference. And these simple shifts act as a natural way to support restoring that balance. All right, so the key takeaway today is that fatty liver is not something that develops overnight, but the good news is it doesn't take years to reverse it either. With consistent, balanced meals and simple lifestyle shifts, the liver can begin to heal and show improvements in liver fat enzymes over just a few months. You don't need extreme diets, extreme detoxes, harsh cleanses, or handfuls of supplements. Just a sensible, targeted plan that fits your body and what you have going on. And the right support might be helpful so that you can build consistency. So Remember to download our fatty liver meal plan as a great starting point. It's a simple evidence-based way to give your liver the nutrients it needs to release stored fat, calm inflammation, and restore balance. And if you're listening to this and thinking, I don't know where to start, what about this and that? Because we're all different. We all have more than one thing going on, right? So if you'd like some more personalized guidance, that's what we do every day at Nutrition and Resolution. We're a team of GI specialized dietitians, and we work one on one with clients to help uncover their root causes and create custom plans that fit your body so that you can achieve sustainable healing. Healing starts with small, consistent changes, and you don't have to do it alone. So, if you'd like some help with this, schedule a free 15-minute consultation with me. We have the link in the show notes, and I'd be happy to talk through what you're dealing with. We'll decide if it makes sense to work together, and if so, we'll put together a plan of work and I'll share with you how we work with patients and how to get started. So I invite you to schedule that if you think it's something that might be helpful. And thank you so much for listening today. Definitely check out our other links and resources on this topic, and we'll see you guys next week.